Hi all, it's tool time again. We're having a little play with Ruby's steering head bearings. And I know from looking on YouTube and other places, there's not a whole lot of stuff there, so I thought I'd make this little video just to give those who perhaps need to pull it apart for inspection purposes or whatever, a little heads up for what's involved. Now Ruby, as you can see, is in a little bit of a sorry state. It looks worse than it is. I've reached a position where I had some loose bearings, and I had heard some rumours that the factory weren't too keen on installing any of the sticky stuff in with the metal bits, the bearings, in the steering head. So I thought, well, I need to take a little bit of slack out of the bearings. I will open up the steering head to give me a little bit of room, just to perhaps inspect the lower race at least, to see how much grease there is or is not inside the lower race. In order to do that, of course, you can see the handlebars are off and loosely draped over the seat, over the tank, sorry. Tank needs to be protected. The elements that need to be undone are centre bolt, centre nut, which is a 41mm arrangement, preferably use a socket. These two are both 36s. They need to come undone. As you can see, they're all loose, undone. There's also, under the plastic bit, an Allen head bolt that tightens up the top of the triple clamp on the fork tubes. What we want to try and do is get the fork tubes down so that we're able to expose the lower race. And with that exposed, I may go a little bit further. I should be able to see how much grease is in it or not in it, and stick some in. Now, the secret little nut that allows that to come undone is buried up under there. You can see it. Can you see it? Hang on. You can see it parked up there, a flat hexagon arrangement which needs to be undone, forcing the fork tubes down away from the upper triple clamp. You don't need or shouldn't need to undo the bottom one, because you want the whole shooting match to come down, exposing that bottom bearing. The check for are my bearings loose involves putting a jack under the front, getting the front wheel up in the air. You can then grab a hold of the front and shake it around. Now that's extremely loose because I've undone it, but that's the whole idea. That should have very little play in it at all, and you want basically the steering to have a little bit of resistance and not go flopping left and right. The other element that you should take note of is that I've actually undone the steering damper, so that has no influence in firming up the steering and giving you a false reading. Lower bearing race, come on, focus. Good. And as you can see, there appears not to be a whole lot of grease in there. I'm not saying there ain't enough. It just doesn't appear to be enough for me. So I'm going to pack a good load of good old black molybdenum disulfide, Penrite's Best, into there. I'll try and then push the front end back up. Hopefully that might allow me to access the top race. But if it doesn't, at least I'll have some comfort in knowing that I've got some grease in the bottom race. Cross my fingers for the top race, because it's a huge big job that I really don't want to do and involves taking the whole shooting match apart. and I'm not quite up for that. I don't really want to go that far. If I have to, I will. A couple of points I need to make and maybe glossed over. There's a very, very high probability that unless you adequately protect your fuel tank when you're undoing this contraption, that you will end up with scratches and dents. This little beastie here is what's used to undo the 41mm nut, which is buried up underneath this. I tried to show it to you before. But this is perilously close to banging into the tank, and at times it needed to be knocked undone with a hammer or a mallet. The smaller end of that is used to undo these, which again puts it perilously close to making a bit of a mark, or perhaps worse, into your tank. So protect the fuel tank. I also need to mention that there are no seals. There are no weatherproofing seals either in the top or the bottom of these bearings, which is a little bit poor, but anyhow, what do I know? I will be putting some waterproof, or the best grease I can get to go in there, that has some waterproofing qualities, water resistant qualities at least, just to cover off on the probability that we might get water and dust and crap in there. Now that's just me and my maintenance engineering background coming in, preventative maintenance if you want to call it that. Finally, I should add, no, it's probably not going to be finally, but anyhow, I should add that in order to mitigate against causing any tank damage, I went out and purchased a 42mm socket with a 1/2 to 3/4 conversion, and also a 36, which is a 1/2 inch drive standard. Both of those have mitigated against damage to the tank. Okay, I've managed to squeeze some moly grease up into that seal, and I've gently dropped the bike so that the tree has been pushed up. The triple tree has been pushed up. That's now exposing the top bearing for me, which I will attempt to do a similar job on before tightening it all down. And there's that slim hexagon nut up in there, which allows the whole lot to come apart. After which, as I've said before, you've got to undo the top part of the tree to allow the forks to slide up and down. Hope that's clear for you. I found the use of a little pin punch and an appropriately sized hammer. Excellent for tapping, where is it? Come on, focus. For tapping that nut around, because the spanner is only a single hex, it's not a double hex, so it can't engage there all the time. As you can see, I've got a gap there. I only have left to pull down that gap, and you do that via these bolts. You can almost screw them down with your fingers. What I did do though, which might save you a little bit of heartache, is squirt a little bit of liquid lubricant down through all those mating surfaces so that the forks would slide into trees a bit better. You have to remember too, I only undid the top of the triple tree. The bottom was left untouched because I didn't want the wheel to fall out. All I wanted to do was move the tree up out of the way, separate the bearings so that I could get some moly grease in, and I think that mission's been successful because, where is it? focus. Because there's the stuff there starting to ooze out as I turn the wheel. But anyway, now it's just pretty much of a bolt up. The important thing is I have, and I'm heaving up on it, I have no clunkety clunk anymore. And steering action still reasonably light.